about to get heavy, folks. Hey everybody, and welcome to, I guess, another episode of This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things. As you guys noticed, probably, there was no fancy music or, anything in the beginning because I don't really want to take away from the message of this video or mistake anything for it to be, like, funny or anything like that, because that's could not be farther from the truth. So, as most of you probably know, have seen throughout the news, I don't know how you couldn't, but all the allegations and proof and multiple people coming forward every day with new stories about the misconduct and harassment and outright just disgusting behavior by Harvey Weinstein of the Weinstein Group in Hollywood. He was a very influential and powerful producer, director, everything under the sun. Basically, someone who holds a lot of sway in Hollywood. But the stories that are coming out every day are just, they make my skin crawl. Hopefully, you would think that would be like that for anybody. And while I could probably go on and on about everything surrounding that, that's actually not what I wanted to talk about today. What I wanted to talk about was some of the stuff that's come out as almost like a subtopic, and that is that a few actors, male actors, have come forward and told numerous stories. As of right now, the two biggest names, I believe, are Terry Crews and James Vanderbeek, have both come out and in support of the women who have come forward about Harvey Weinstein, but at the same time they've also said that this is not isolated to just women, and in no way are they saying that to take away from. This is not a, hey, all guys, guys too kind of thing. It's to show that this disgusting behavior and this kind of attitude of older men, men with influence, think that they can hold that influence over anybody, men, women, anybody, and that they can just do whatever they want, because if you don't go along with it, like, they'll blackball you from the industry, or they can just hold it over your head. Which just got me thinking, and I was talking with a few friends, and I was talking with a friend today, and she had mentioned how, it'd be an interesting conversation to know what men who aren't even in not men in Hollywood, not anybody in Hollywood. We're talking about you, like you and me, average Joes and Janes, average people, go through. She had mentioned to me, that my friend had mentioned to me, that her husband had faced some harassment in the workplace over his years of being a professional, even losing a job because he wouldn't accept the advances of a female authority figure, supervisor, what have you, at his job, and he was fired. He was let go. For whatever reason, you can name it, but that's essentially what it boiled down to. And basically, it stirred up a lot of feelings in here. And I'm not sharing this information or these stories to take anything away from what women go through on a daily basis. If anything, it's to actually show more support. It's to show some empathy, some understanding on a level that no one should actually have to understand. So, it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. I have been sexually assaulted twice in my life, and um, even now it's hard to say that because not because I'm afraid. I mean, because I am afraid. I'm very nervous about. I have never talked about this with anybody. My closest friends, I've never anybody. It's just been something I put away, and it's not because I'm ashamed. It's because I also didn't know. And I mean, I was having this conversation with my wife today when I spoke to her, and I said, I'm going to make this video and talk about this, hopefully to show some kind of support, hopefully show men that it's okay to talk about this, to come forward and say, hey, I understand because this happened to me too. To not feel weak, but also to reevaluate situations in your life, and that's hard. It's hard to look back on things and do that. But also, I told her, I said, like, I honestly didn't know, and she was pretty surprised by that. Like, how do you not know? But it's because in the moment, you just don't know. You're so wrapped up in stigma of being a guy and what that means and what's happening, and you don't and listen, as a young, even pre 30 years old, I'm almost 40. I'll be 40 in like 8 months. And even pre 30, like, I had no idea. I had no idea that this kind of stuff could happen to men. So the first time this happened to me, I was in the Army, and I was on a detail, and I was at a warehouse unit, and I just so happened to be pretty proficient in inventory and logistics and running inventory systems, and so, I lucked out and didn't have to do a lot of the grunt work with my friends. I ended up working in the office and doing inventory and inputting data in the computer. And my supervisor, or who I was loaned out to, was a female sergeant. And anybody who was in the military knows anything about the military is the sergeant is an NCO. So, your E1 through E4, like, you do anything and everything they tell you without question, or you get in trouble. I wasn't the best soldier. I wasn't the best, we'll just put it like employee. I wasn't the best, so I was, kind of a knucklehead. 19, 20, 21, 22, not my brightest years on the planet. So I already didn't have a great, standing with my command, and so and she knew that, but she was always really nice to me, and was super cool, was always like hooking me up with stuff, and giving me extra long lunches and breaks, and even when it was time for our detail to be up, she gave me like a gift for helping her out, and it was like at the time I was really into like wrestling and stuff, so she gave me like a Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt or something like that. And I mean, I had no idea that there was more kind of like insinuated with that. And so like one of the last days, she's like, oh, hey, by the way, I work out at this bar or whatever outside of town. You should come see me sometime, like, and I was like, oh, cool, yeah, we go there all the time. Me and my friends go there all the time. And so we happened to go there like a weekend or two after the detail was done, and I was drinking with my friends, and you know, we had, you're buzzed, you're out there having, a good time and stuff, and at some point in the bar, she like cornered me and was talking to me, and of course, as a single guy, you feel. You feel kind of like, oh, this is cool. Like, just, she's really into me or whatever. And, but it just, something just didn't feel right about it. And she was getting pretty, like, aggressive about, like, touching and stuff. And I was like, whoa, like, we're out in public. Like, and everybody, like, here knows you're a sergeant. I'm not. I'm just a regular Joe. Like, we can get in trouble, And her response was, well, like, you have to do what I say, and like, she was being joking, but at the same time, like, it felt, like I said, it didn't feel right. And especially when she added on, like, I still haven't written my like report about how you did and your behavior and all that stuff. And like, I was like, oh shit, like, almost like felt threatened. It was like a, quid quo pro kind of thing. Nothing ever ended up happening because I think she kind of caught on to how like I was taking that, and it kind of like cooled down after that. Plus, I mean, we were in a bar full of people, and a lot of witnesses, and so luckily I never saw her again. The report that I received a couple weeks later from my command said I did a good job, and there was no mention of anything negative because I didn't do anything negative. And but looking back on that now, it's like, oh shit, like, that's what happened. And kind of rocks you a little bit to think about that kind of stuff. So, and I guess, I mean, the second time that it happened, it was a few years later, after I had gotten out of the military. I was working, I was actually working at the company where I met my wife. They used to have like this big Christmas party, and I was already, on a side note, I was even worse employed there than I was kind of as a knucklehead in the Army. I wasn't a great employee, and I can admit that now. I didn't really have a really good work ethic. And there was this lady who used to always give me a lot of shit, and she was a manager, not really a manager of, like, I think she had like one or two employees, but somehow she ended up being like someone who was almost like I was assigned to, like they were supposed to be like a mentor or something. And I'm like, I don't even like this lady, and she doesn't like me either, and she's always giving me crap, and she's always like busting my balls and threatening me and all kinds of stuff. So fast forward like to the Christmas party we have, and it's like debauchery central, man, or at least it was. I mean, people were just so hammered, and I'm sure people can relate to their company Christmas parties and stuff, which, no judgment, shit was fun. Like, we had a great time. The party was a great time, and I had ton of fun. And hanging out with all those people at that age and all that stuff. That was just the shit I was into. It was the shit that we were all into, just drinking, having fun. But again, somehow you end up alone, like, cornered. I know this is something that probably almost every and any woman can relate to. Feeling very uncomfortable. That lady, and I mean, we were having fun that night, joking around, and she was not her normal self because she was having a good time. It was Christmas party, cutting loose, all that good stuff. But yeah, it was very similar to the other thing, and she was being super flirty, and I was just like, okay, like, she's drinking, she's just having fun and being, kind of touchy, you're just kind of like, okay. But she just grabbed my
she grabbed my genitalia. Like, honestly, she didn't go in my clothes, but she grabbed the outside, like on my pants, and I was like, "Whoa, what the? Like, what are you doing?" And and it was like instantly it was, oh, like I'm just kidding, so I'm just kidding, and I've had too much drink. But then of course there's that added like at the very end, there's the added like, you know, just by the way, like nobody's gonna believe you if you say anything, and it's like, fuck. So obviously, yeah, I didn't say anything, and you just kind of go on and you just wait for the day that you quit or get fired or um, luckily I never saw that person again, and like after I left the company about a year later, and but yeah, I mean, it made me feel really devalued and disgusting, and I'm sure it's had a major effect on me since then in my life. Definitely this, fed into like my passion now, like why I'm so adamant about speaking up for those who don't, feel like they have a voice. I don't share these stories to say, "Hey, me too," or "Hey, look at me," or calm down, ladies. It happens to guys too. Like it's not it at all. Like I probably would almost wish I could go the rest of my life with never having talking about this, but it needs to be out there because people need to know that this is not right. And if you have had this happen to you, I don't care if you're a guy or a woman or what, like, you are supported. I know it's scary, but if you need someone to talk to or you want to come out with it, like, hopefully this can help even just one person feel a little bit more safe to do that. And for those who have been victimized or feel victimized, and this is coming from a person who has a hard time seeing himself as a victim because, still all the stigma around being a guy, it's like, like when I was in the military, if I would have said something, like, people would have been like, well, what's wrong with you? What are you, gay? And it's like, no, man. It felt wrong. But for all those who feel like they have been victimized or are being victimized, I encourage you to speak out. Just know that there is someone out there who supports you. There are a lot of people out there who support you, will support you. And I hope this provides anybody who feels like they're alone, like, some relief that they're not. Your story is just as valuable as mine, and I don't care what circumstances are. I don't care if it was just a comment or if someone full on assaulted you. Like, everybody's story it matters, and everybody's story, it needs to be heard. So yeah, that's my story. Normally I never ask this, but I would like to ask that as many of you as possible could not only comment and like, but I would like you to share this. I don't need the attention. That's not why I'm asking. I just would like as many people to be able to know that they're supported, or to hear someone's, you just don't know how many people out there might need it. And, on top of that, millions and millions of women who need and deserve all the support they can get on this, as well as all the men who need to know this shit needs to stop, and that their behavior is disgusting and inappropriate and wrong. So Please share. Thanks for listening.